And we are live. We are live with another TROM-Cast. And this is a follow-up. It's a follow-up of the last TROM-Cast where we discussed about this coronavirus pandemic. And yeah, we are here like a week later, and of course the virus is spreading more and more. Last time we talked a bit a bit more about what this pandemic is all about the virus itself, how it transmits, and so forth. Today, we're going to focus a bit more on this quarantine solution that the tribes around the world are trying to impose or just put in action, where people have to stay at home. Like we are in Spain, we are for the past 10 or 11 days, we are in so-called lockdown. So you're not allowed to go out unless you go to buy some stuff. You want to go buy some medicine and food essentials, or walk the dog, and stuff like that. But in other parts of the world, is not in lockdown. So we have people from a few other tribes here. I like to call countries, because I think countries is too big of a name for these groups of people with their cultural. They seem too different from each other, but they are not that different. So we have we have Jen. Jen is from US, and we have Alex, who's also from US, and Cody from Canada. And I didn't get your name from you're from France.
I'm Guillaume.
Yeah. Okay.
Guillaume, yeah.
It's a bit difficult to pronounce.
Tio, give me.
Okay.
All my cams are
let's
frozen.
Where are you from?
Hold on.
Hang on, he's not from France. I got to rejoin real quick. All the cams just locked up when I went live, so I'll rejoin, trigger all the cams, and we'll proceed.
Okay.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
1, 2,
Okay,
3, 4,
Cody,
5. Move. Do animate yourselves. I need to see dancing. I need to see movements. Everyone's still alive? Okay. Then we are good to proceed now, Tio. Okay, let's go.
Okay. So whatever we did. Are you sure? Did you check the live?
Yeah.
Everything?
No, everything's good. Sounds good. Video's good. Everything's good. Good.
Perfect. Yeah, so like I was saying, let's discuss today a bit about how is this lockdown going for people, and maybe if it's efficient from what we've read, or what's happening. And just one mention here that last time when we did this, there were like around 250,000 cases worldwide, and now it's like doubling. So it's going so high. It's going so crazy that I've seen this video with this expert in how diseases are spreading, saying that the flu, like if you have the flu, you can transmit it to 1.4 people. That's how the rate is, or 1.3. Okay, so if I transmit it to someone else, and someone else transmits it to someone else, if you go 10 steps like that, 14 people, I will infect 14 people in 10 steps. From me. With this coronavirus, they think right now, they don't know exactly, but it's like around 3 times more infectious. So I will infect 3 people. So in 10 stages, how many people do you guys think I will infect, based on this modeling in 10 steps? So before it was 1.3, the infection rate, and I will reach 14 people. Now it's 3 infection rate. How many people in 10 steps do you think this will affect? Anyone has any idea? 30?
30?
It's 59,000.
Wait, what?
Yes, 59,000. That's how it works. It's a bit nuts, That's why it's spreading so quickly.
Yeah, that's how exponential rise works. It's nuts.
Yeah. So that's why maybe we see this. Yeah. So people, guys, you from let's say from US, for example, how is it? How is it there? Like, where are you exactly from?
Noel is also from this too, right?
Yep. I'm also. Who's going to go? Who's good? Sorry.
I'm in the Midwest part of the U.S., which is confusing because it's actually east. But it's a pretty industrialized area. The city I live in, it's kind of like medium to low income people. So people are more concerned with their jobs and the economy as opposed to, what the reality is and how contagious this is. And I mean, it's kind of a clusterfuck, really. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just, I mean, I don't really leave my house at all. I have no reason to. I don't have a job. I don't have a car. So for me, it's not really too much different than what I was doing previously. But like, I left yesterday for the grocery store and I was just like, these people just, I don't think people quite comprehend, like they know what coronavirus is, like the very basics of it because it's just everywhere, you can't avoid it. But I don't think people quite, understand. They just either don't take it seriously or like my mom, she's still going to work. She works in a factory with 50 other people, and then they have a shift change, which another 50 people come in, and there's no testing. There's no testing at all that I know of. I don't know where to get tested, even if, I had symptoms. And my mom's just more like, she's very religious. So she thinks that if she prays really hard, she's not going to get this virus, even though she's in a very high risk category with her age, diabetes. Again, she's working with a lot of people. So it just really, I guess it just really amplifies all of the cultural shit that already exists anyway. It's just kind of amplifying it and, just like the over consumerism, people in the grocery store panicking, buying tons of shit. It's just like, I don't understand that either. But I mean, unless they're not planning on leaving their house for like 2 weeks, buy the stuff and stay in your house. Don't come back to the grocery store just because you're bored and you want to, buy stuff. So I don't know. That's just what I'm noticing personally. So
you said that you also had some symptoms from.
Oh no, I don't have any symptoms, but my mom, I'm very worried about her more so because again, she's high risk and she understands the severity of it, but at the same time, she's got like, all these cultural barriers that keep her from protecting herself. It's like she's very religious. She's very she has like this insane work ethic that like no matter what you have to go to work. Like even though this virus, could potentially kill her, she's more concerned with her job. It's just like things like that, and it's just the mindset here. She works for the largest food producer in the United States, and she showed me the paper they gave all their employees, and not a single thing about like look out for these symptoms. It's more just like putting this rhetoric in we're really proud of you guys. You guys are producing, food for all the people in the country, and we need you on the front lines. And it's just crazy to me. Like I just can't believe. And my sister and I are very worried about her because, just from all the information that you get, if you're paying attention at all, it's just like this is crazy. They should be, if anything, cutting their staff down to the bare essentials, and especially somebody who is 65, basically diabetic. working 6 days a week in a cold, setting where that lowers your immune system, getting very little sleep. I mean, there's just so many things that just keep adding to making that person vulnerable. And it's really only about trying to save this economy that's crashing anyway. Like, to me, I think it's like insane. I don't know how else to describe it.
You said that she works in this like food production.
Yeah.
Maybe that's considered as an essential, so maybe that won't even close.
Well, and that's another crazy thing is, even though we're all one supposed tribe, the United States, each state has their own laws and ways of and that's another crazy thing with this pandemic, which obviously, we're all humans and we're all able to catch this. Nobody's immune to it, but you go into another state territory and the laws change. They're not even on a lockdown there. She works in another state. She just crosses the border. So she has to carry this piece of paper around with her at all times that if the police stop her in this state, Ohio, she can get in trouble because we're not supposed to be leaving the house. But if she goes into Kentucky, there's no issue, and that's where she works. So it's just crazy. The whole thing is crazy. And we're seeing how rapidly it's spreading from New York. Like, New York has got so many deaths and cases, and yeah, like the incident.
It's just the beginning
Of the numbers. You could check in the morning, and at night it'll be a totally different number. It's just, I don't know. Sorry, I could just ramble on. So.
Yeah, no, but it's important to know this kind of details. And you, Alex?
Yeah, I was going to say too. I think most of what you're saying actually speaks to a lot of the inefficiencies of the system that we live in. I mean, from the economy to what is supposedly our like leaders and institutions, and how that's the point. If we're in a pandemic and these things are so dire that they're doing all these drastic measures, yet exactly like you said, I don't even know how to get tested either. That means, wouldn't that certain things be automatic almost? I mean, and I don't know. I just think the whole thing in general is really highlighting the house of cards that is the economic system and the so-called ruling institutions who are supposedly there for our betterment. And I think it's just pointing out how none of that is actually the case. Because if it was, it would be much different. I know you guys kind of covered this on the last TROM-Cast. It might be slightly off base, but yeah. And, like going to work. And obviously the reason people feel that is because they understand that their job is their existence. I mean, without some form of income, you will starve off and die. And I think, people feel forced they'll risk their lives, like you were just saying, for your mom, because they feel that urgency, that if I don't work, I'm not going to have a home. I'm not going to have food. I'm not going to have. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think a lot of things you were just saying kind of points to all that.
Yeah, and how is it in your the region that you live?
Yeah, I live in Virginia. I live near DC. I used to actually live right outside. I live a little bit farther out now. It's again, it's like it's in pockets. It's different things. We're not on lockdown here, so they've closed major establishments. Non-essential like gyms and things like that. And the ironic thing to me again is how everything seems to be so dire on one hand, and you have these people everywhere panicking and and buying like tons of food. So you would assume that they're planning to stay in, yet every day you go to the grocery store, they're all in there shoulder to shoulder. Which is kind of defeating the whole purpose in the first place. So, that's what I mean. I don't know. I see things in the big picture, and the whole thing is a little ironic to me, honestly. But as far as how it is, like I said, we're not locked down. We're not really quarantined. I mean, they've closed some of the businesses and they tell you to not, social distance and not go out if you can and stuff. But yeah, everything else is somewhat normal, actually.
And what about, yeah.
I was going to say, in Noel, which state are you in?
I'm in Georgia.
Okay.
How is
My
it?
situation is very similar to that of Alex, what he just said. It's not really quarantine or anything. It's just the schools are closed, and that's it, pretty much. Everybody still goes to work, and the movie theater is still open.
Movie theater, that's surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah, over here it's still open. So, yeah, it's
Because what is interesting is that if you look how many tests US did, it was the last time I looked, it was around 340,000 tests overall. And for example, Spain did almost 500,000 or more tests. But even compared to that, in US are a lot more infections than in Spain. So it's very likely that there are a lot more infections in the US. Like it's already like a lot more spread. Just based on that, like how many tests and how many do you find as being positive? And it's a bit interesting how US did so few tests because they have the population 320 million or something, and Spain is like 47 or so million. So they should do a lot more tests, and you will see in the next week or 2 weeks or so, and you'll see the numbers of cases will increase exponentially in the US because they will do more tests. And then, so it's interesting how they don't take any measures and so forth in that regards. But yeah, well, what about further north in Canada?
I think everybody's still trying to do their thing if they can. Again, same situation. It's not like forced quarantine. If you want to volunteer yourself for the cause, then that's basically what's happening. They've shut down like our downtown and stuff. So like got like some of the malls and stuff are closing up, or just even individual stores are doing it on like an individual basis. So some places are staying open. But yeah, you can certainly go downtown and like there's stuff missing, and that's mainly people. So, I mean, it is there, but it's not to, Spain's levels or Italy's levels or anything like that. Yeah, I think people are still doing what they can. But
Canada, right, is growing in numbers.
Yeah, we're growing in numbers, but it's like we haven't got the shock day yet, where like it's too late kind of thing, right? It hasn't got into like.
Well, it's around 4,000 I see cases, but
sure.
Funny thing is that when Spain closed, it's went into lockdown mode. It was about 8,000 cases. Okay. So not much. Right. And now Spain is like how much? It's like almost 60,000 cases.
Yeah.
Just 10 days or so.
Yep.
So this is quite.
That's what I'm saying. Is like it's over there and it's over there until it like actually gets here. Like it's not going to get like that last 25% of people or whoever is still out there like this thing isn't going to bother me. Kind of deal. But no real enforcement yet. Go ahead, Sasha.
Yeah, I was going to say I feel like people don't really get it until people start dying on,
right.
massive level. And then you see that the deaths are also going exponential and that the hospitals are overloaded. And there's not enough beds and people are, in the hallways, laying down in the hallways of the hospitals. There's not enough ventilators, and doctors basically have to choose who gets a ventilator and who doesn't. And whoever doesn't get one basically has to die. And that's what's going on in Spain and Italy. And I'm sure it will happen in the US. I'm sure it will happen everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Because with this kind of exponential growth, like, it's like everything seems fine until it isn't, and to shut down to go into lockdown when you realize that it's already not fine, there's little difference. Because, I mean, even Spain and Italy, they went into lockdown and numbers are still rising exponentially. So, the only way to prevent, to slow it down, I feel like with the lockdown, it would be really beneficial if you did that early.
Yeah.
Very early, yeah.
But yeah, very, very early. But, because everybody depends on a job to get their basic necessities, they won't do that.
Right.
And because the economy will, struggle.
Economy, guys.
Yeah.
And how is it? How is it in France? And I'm not going to pronounce your name because I'm going to butcher it. Sorry, I'll just call you G because it's just.
That's easy.
Or do you have like a short nickname?
Guy, you can call me Guy, yeah.
E.
Yeah.
G.
Okay.
So actually, I don't live in France. I live in Dublin, in Ireland.
It's really, really quiet now, the mic.
Can you hear?
It's better.
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll boost it.
So I live in Dublin, in Ireland. So I'm a bit disconnected with France at the moment. I just know that they start to close everything as well. I think that they did the lockdown sometimes in Spain. So a couple of days ago already. Here in Dublin, there is nothing much done yet. It's a bit like Canada, I think. Uh,
UK recently locked down, but not Ireland.
yeah. No, not Ireland. No.
Mhm.
Because Ireland, I think, is a small country as well, so the numbers start a lot lower than other countries. I have personally a colleague, a friend that is infected, and she explained me so how it was going. She has the symptoms since maybe 10 days already,
Oh.
but she hasn't been able yet to be tested. So she got the illness from her boyfriend that was one of the first one to get it in Ireland. He got tested positive. He doesn't have any more symptom anymore, but so the girlfriend now is sick. But she hasn't been able yet to be tested, and she will be tested tomorrow. So that's the situation today in Dublin. Yeah. So I'm a bit worried as well for Ireland because people really don't understand what is going on. You have a lot of foreigners community, so basically you have a lot of companies that hire European people. So you have a lot of Italian, for example, here that understand, and most of them stay at home since already 2 or 3 weeks. Me as well, because I live with an Italian, and I've been at home since 3 weeks already, because my company from the beginning asked us to work from home. So I was lucky for that. But other than that, I can see until a few days ago, you could still go to the pub or anything. People just didn't understand. They just closed the parks as well 2 days ago.
So they closed the parks but left the pubs open?
No, the pubs are closed as well now since.
Oh, okay.
In Ireland, I feel like it would be hard to close the pubs.
Well, I thought that's what he said at
Maybe
first.
the solution will come
Alcohol
from
kills the virus.
because they want their pubs open. Yeah.
But just so we may try to fix this before is like your volume is so low that other people are telling me when they watch the stream they don't quite understand. You know, even for us, we have to crank up the volume so high. If you can from your computer, just yeah, we will. No worries. Whenever you want, you come back.
Is it better now?
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
So
much
it's a
better.
headphone, I think.
Oh, yeah, it's much better.
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
That'll work.
All right. Yeah. So that's it. So they start to put stuff in place, but the problem is the people haven't understand yet what's happening, and I think it has been the same a bit everywhere. The politician decide to take measure. People don't understand because they don't see yet what's happening. And a couple of days after, they start to understand, and but it's too late anyway.
Yeah. Duma, what do you think about all of this situation? Because you may have maybe a different view of all of this.
As always.
What do you think about it? Because you're in Spain, so you are in the center of attention now. You know, because Spain is becoming more and more like Italy.
I don't know what to tell right now. I'm just stuck in my home, the same as you guys. Yeah, no, I see this time as actually a possibility to see how vulnerable our economical system are. The way, like, how businesses, how huge corporations just go down when they not operating for a few weeks, and that's like, even for perspective of thinking, there are a lot of corporations which have billions and billions on their account, and yet without few weeks of operation they'll go bankrupt, and how it's even possible, and people lose jobs, and that's it. So in such perspective, this global kind of pandemic or disaster, it's actually like eyes opening maybe experience for some other people, that's something wrong with our system, and the virus is just maybe beginning, and not the terrible thing which might be afterward, but will be after much in terms of economical losses. And I don't care about much economical losses, but will depend on the money. And yeah, we'll see how the countries will cope with that, and everything. But I think in every disaster there's an opportunity. I just hope that maybe more people start to question our system we're living, like the whole capitalism and the trade based and monetary system and everything. So I see it as a good experience. I mean, on a personal level, of course, I don't want to be ill, or that some of my relatives will get sick or die. Of course, like no one wants that. But in a global perspective, I think it's like the time of revelations. I don't know how to call it, but it's
Wake up call.
Yeah, kind of, because every problems, we are changing something, we're doing something, we're evolving through the problems, and through some, when everything good, nobody cares. Okay, we have money, I have money in the pocket, why should I care about the world, about the global stuff? And when there's some global, problems, and, people just start to see some lack of resources, like they start to lose jobs, there's panic, like the people go to the shops and buy stuff. I've heard that in US the people just buying all the guns, and you cannot, in some states you cannot buy even the bullets, and
because that's what they need during a pandemic. Shoot the virus.
yeah, but imagine what kind of stress that gives to people.
Yeah.
And what gonna follow by that. So I see this time as sexual opportunity, and kind of for people to start to question the system we're living, that it's not capable of solving the global problems. Another positive moment I see that there's like really cool footage of the from the satellites, which can track these CO2 emissions, and they've got like a time lapse of that over the country, and that's amazing. It's amazing how in a short period of time, even not only CO2 levels, but also the air, the quality of air, the quality of water is improved in many places, and it also shows another positive moment that we actually, if there would be such aim, we would solve our global change problems. Okay, not gonna solve, but we will start to act right now, and it will be very effective.
Yeah.
It's just a question of our priorities. That's it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I identify with what you say. I secretly have wished for like some big awakening. Obviously, not at the expense of other people's, dying on a large scale or people suffering, but just kind of having people who you normally pay attention to these type of things, like actually speak out, and also especially in this country where people are so loyal to their politics and they think like everything can be solved through politics, are really starting to question. They feel like betrayed, and they feel like they see how easily, like just with a snap of a finger, your whole world can be turned upside down. Just it really does bring people back down to earth, and really show them how small this planet is, and how connected we really are. And we can't keep trying to divide ourselves up by these silly labels that, you know, don't mean anything.
And
So-
how fragile our worldwide society is, because just a few weeks of this virus that is not even extremely deadly, you know, can bring to the almost the collapse many big countries, like from Italy to Spain to whatever, France and so forth, or US, you'll see. So it's quite fragile. It's like just it's like exactly like House of Cards, you know, and it's just going to collapse very easily.
Yeah, and only collapse by people staying at home and not consuming as much. That's it. You know, how ridiculous is that? You know, and I hope people will be able to see like the ridiculousness of this after, you know, if this lasts for a few months, and maybe some countries will be in lockdown for a few months, and then people won't have access to food or to a place to live. They won't be able to pay their rent. But how ridiculous is that on a mass scale that, you know, we have enough food, we have the apartments, and it's so obvious in this way, but we don't have access to them because we've been sitting at home because there's a pandemic. And then at the end of the lockdown, people will be kicked out of their apartments, or what?
Or kind of like what Dima said, the positives that are, you know, I was seeing like wild animals are coming out, even like in Santiago, a puma came out into the streets, like from the mountain, or maybe a mountain lion. You know, fish are swimming in like the Venice Canal, just all this like stuff. And one of my friends in Los Angeles posted a video. There's no smog in the sky. It was like, wow, that's crazy in a good way. And yeah, also homeless people. They're actually taking homeless people off the streets and putting them into housing because they have to contain them because of the virus, which goes to prove that we could technically house these homeless people, but this stupid system, you know, prevents us from taking people off the streets. But when this virus that, you know, no person on earth is immune to, we have to take them off the streets. So it's like, I don't know, kind of shows you that this trade-based system really stops a lot of good things. And also, like, I'm noticing a lot of people posting videos of them outside or doing things that they never had time to do, like reading, taking up new hobbies, learning an instrument, you know, just doing things that they never had time to do. And I hope people realize the reason that these things weren't happening is because of this system, you know. Maybe that might cause a cultural shift too.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cultural shock, yeah.
I was going to say, because now you can actually see like which jobs are actually essential. The majority of the jobs are not essential because majority of the people are sitting home. So most jobs are completely based on bullshit, you know, based on the need to consume more and more shit. And we don't actually need it. And it's not good because it's causing global warming and a ton of other fucking problems, you know. So it shows that we can actually have a lot fewer, you know, hours of work combined to make the system, to give us what we need to live, you know. And you can have a lot more free time to do music and whatever you want to do.
Governments will have to do something, you know, because about this, and something will be more radical for them, at least, to give money to people, whatever. I've seen in Spain trying to do that. I've seen in the US proposing these kinds of things.
Even India.
Even India, you know.
India, wow.
But because of
they're
course,
gonna put cash. Yeah.
Imagine there are so many people now who have no job, and then how are they going to fucking pay for their whatever, electricity and rent and food? Because that's most essential, like most immediate. If you don't have any money because you depend from 1 month to another, and like people in this world who depend from 1 day to another, not 1 month to another, then of course these people are going to go to the streets, and then you want those people with the maybe virus or creating more you know, opportunities for the virus to spread. So you see, it's unfortunate that such a tragic event is the one that forces, you know, a bit of a bold thinking here and there, you know, maybe let's give money to people, or maybe let's provide things for free. Like I've seen, I think in Ireland or somewhere, they said that, look, all of the private hospitals, fuck off, you know, they become nationalized, and then we provide free whatever healthcare for people for this period of time.
So
But
you
let's
see, it's a good experience. I mean,
well,
He
from
doesn't
outside-
see doctors in
No, no,
hospitals and staying in Italy.
yeah, exactly. No. The thing is, it's might be bad for like, personal perspective. Of course, no one wants to get ill, or somebody in your family. But if you look at the global scale, it's like a step forward. It's like a punch in your face that you have to change something. And capitalism show exactly it cannot cope this problem. It cannot do it. The way like the America now got now, and they decide to pay people money. It's kind of, from one thing, okay, good, but why they doing it? Not because they care about people, but because if they won't do it, all their system will collapse. The companies won't be able to produce stuff. People won't be able to buy it, and it's like that will be total disaster.
Yeah, but
will
is
be
the
total
US doing
chaos.
that? I thought they were planning to give like big companies money and not people. You guys
So-
heard?
They're planning on doing a stimulus package, which would be like a little over $1,000 US per person under a certain threshold. So if you make like 90,000, then you're exempt, but under that, it'll start to trickle down.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's
So
basically
they are planning on that.
because
Yeah,
they
but
have,
that's a one-time thing too.
Just
yeah,
one,
That
for
won't
one
even pay most people's rent.
yeah, it's like a fart in the wind. It doesn't mean anything. It's just something to shut people up for a little bit, It's nothing. And again, it's just like when I start hearing this, it's like gibberish. Like, well why do people pay attention to this? Because it's such a waste of your thought. Like, why don't you focus on solving the problem instead of some one thing to just like a stepping stone to get us to the next point. Like, this is not a solution. This is just something to keep this system going for just a little bit longer. Just
Buy more time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
exactly.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and also, I thought it was interesting. I saw somebody post Jeff, what's his name? Jeff Bezos, the Amazon guy,
Yeah.
is asking for people to donate
I've seen
money
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, to help his employees that are out of work and
Sorry, what? He asked to donate money?
Yeah, that's
I never
Yeah.
heard.
if people
Are
would
you
donate
kidding me?
to his employee relief fund or whatever for his out of work employees. Yeah,
That guy has more money than some countries.
Don't worry about
But
it,
he's
Sasha.
the richest person in the world.
Yeah.
He has
Right.
more than
How do you think he got
$100
that way?
billion, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Just
He has enough money to end world poverty and still have money, like
he's
Pocket
asking
change.
for donations.
billions of dollars or whatever. But
Oh my
the
God.
silver lining is that people are seeing that how ludicrous that is. Like, how dare you? We're the one, like, we are on the verge of being homeless, without food, we have no clue what's going to happen to us, and you are asking us to donate. Like, it's just I don't know. I think it is really interesting. I wouldn't necessarily call it good, but interesting that people are starting to, see. Whereas I think before, if it wasn't such a personal problem or such a thing that was so close to home to them, that they may just like brush it off, like, it's just another, like when he donated money for like climate change or whatever, like, again, like, what a joke.
Mhm.
PR.
Yeah, let's see if this kind of shock in the society will have long-lasting impacts, or people will just go back to business in a year or two.
But maybe also politicians will be forced to do some actions. I'm not sure, but I was reading about America as well, that they plan to maybe privatize more of the health hospitals and
Privatize or national?
national, sorry, yeah, to take off from private. So if that would happen, that also like a step forward to kind of more freely accessible health facilities for persons, because in US it's like crazy what prices they've got for healthcare.
It's
Yeah,
nuts.
that is part of the problem, that in some of these other countries where they have universal system, in a case like this, you can kind of organize one system basically. But in the US, where you have, hundreds or even thousands of competing companies and insurances and stuff like that, it's chaos to try to organize, something like this. So that is part of the issue right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they also felt forced to like make these tests free, because at the beginning they were not free in the US, right? And then they're like, maybe let's make them free,
I
maybe
think they're still not free. No, they're like $30 or something. That's what I've heard.
not free.
Or you got to trade your DNA.
I mean, they're not extremely expensive, especially compared to most US medical, expenses. But
Didn't they make them free in some parts?
Didn't you guys know? I thought they were like $30.
I'm not sure.
Nobody really knows. It's like,
no one knows because there's no test available.
Right.
They're only in New York.
I saw a tent in a parking lot, but it was empty. There was no testing going on there. It was just like a tent. So I have no clue. I have a friend that works in the healthcare system, and she told me that they were testing people, but the people that actually do run the tests got overwhelmed and they couldn't complete them. So then what they started doing is taking the test and just testing for the flu. And if people had flu symptoms, then they would treat them as if they had the COVID infection. So I have no clue. I mean,
there's no treatment for the infection for this virus. So
yeah, and from what I understand, it's not really the flu; it's more like pneumonia. So I don't know. I have no clue.
That's the problem. The virus can lead to pneumonia, and then
I've heard on podcasts that they rolled out some tests and then they were like defective. So they had to kind of like scrap all those. And then, since it is a for-profit medical system here in the US, that they only, companies that were producing them are looking for profit. So then they had to charge the doctors for them, which then the doctors have to charge the patients, which, people like me, I don't even have health insurance. So if I were to get sick, I'd kind of be screwed because, I mean, I don't think I would die, but I do have asthma. I mean, I don't know what could happen. And also just hearing that, they're now discovering that younger people can die from it, people in their 30s. Like in the US, we have a different diet. So people typically have like higher blood sugar levels, and that makes you more susceptible. So they're seeing here in the US that people are dying younger. And, if you do have other underlying medical issues.
Yeah, if you have asthma, you're definitely at a higher risk then.
Yeah. So
be careful.
Concerned. But, I mean.
What about you, Alex? Do you have health insurance in the US?
I did, but I switched jobs recently. I don't have it anymore. So I read an article recently where a woman went through treatment. She had the virus and she went through treatment and she ended up with a $35,000 bill because she didn't have insurance. So
what kind of treatment?
I'm not sure, actually. I mean, it didn't specifically detail, but that's another thing too. I don't even know exactly what the treatment entails. Obviously some kind of respirator and that stuff. But that's another thing that's a little odd to me. But if it's a new thing and they don't know how to do it, then how are they even curing it in the first place? I'm not sure, but
I don't think it's more of like keeping people alive, and that's what they do. So they have to fight with that, and maybe it leads to pneumonia, and that's a bacterial infection of the body. So they want to treat that. So it's more like keeping them alive. That's why many die, because they cannot be on ventilators to keep them breathing and keep them alive. So probably that's what it is. Not a treatment, but it's just like managing the symptoms, keeping the patient alive until
while the body fights the virus off, basically.
And recovers.
Yeah. And then imagine that you go through this massive trauma of being in the hospital, being sick, and almost dying, and then you come out with a $30,000 bill.
Oh, thank fuck! They saved my life. Yeah, right.
Now you have the rest of your life to pay for it.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's how they plan to keep economic going.
Oh,
Exactly.
All right.
But yeah, imagine even if US, if they start to nationalize their healthcare system, that will be like free or almost free for people. And yeah, how like I don't know like so many Americans, but I know most of them who I know, they don't have health insurance. So I don't know like on what scale in America people do have or not, but if you don't have, you're really like
Yeah. Right now,
screwed.
tons of people lost their jobs, and usually when people have health
Yep.
insurance it's through their jobs,
Yep.
they lost their jobs and they lost the health insurance.
All right, yeah.
And they're not. I think they specifically said they're not extending. So like you're set to like whatever date you agreed to, but after that, like fuck you.
Oh, it was the same with me in Germany. But
Oh, fun. Yeah, right. That's.
I have adapted, but I escaped.
Yeah, it's nice.
And they send the virus after.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We got something for you.
But what's also interesting now, what's happening in this like global scale, is that regardless if it's a private healthcare system or nationalized and so forth, they're kind of getting smashed by this situation. They're overwhelmed. So probably at least they will realize that, these things are quite fucking important, and most of the other things are not quite fucking important. I think if you take Italy, if you probably take all of the healthcare system, then all of the, let's say, football, football is big in Italy, how much is working, how much money they put into that versus the healthcare system. Probably it's a lot more into football than the healthcare system. So maybe they will at least pump some resources into that. Like, for example, that's why, as far as I know, South Korea or Taiwan or Hong Kong did a bit better, maybe a lot better than other tribes now, because they got smashed in the past, with other outbreaks. So then they put in place a better system to cope with this. They knew a lot better. If you look at the infections and their deaths, are a lot lower than any other tribe. So maybe that makes tribes more prepared, and prioritize. But I don't know for how long that can last, because football is cool and people watch it.
Yeah, and it makes a lot more money, especially if you have a free healthcare system for your people. So.
Yeah, I ultimately think that's, really the problem is, everything is about money. Everything is about profit. So they're only going to, I feel, the powers that be, especially in the major countries like US and stuff, they're only going to do just enough to get through this, to tide people over, to maybe enact enough health things that they can, plaster it on the news and say, see what we did for you people. And then, things go back to what was considered normal.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, we're saying a lot of the things that I think people are feeling and realizing, but the problem is we're not the ones in power and control. Mm-hmm. But kind of like Dima, I think, was saying, is I kind of feel in a way like this is a blessing in disguise, because it is forcing people to be more conscious and see what's going on. And the glaring thing that people can see with their own eyes, it's not just kind of pointing out facts that people say, yeah, that might be, that might not be, is the climate. And, you can see right now, you can go to the satellite images of the month before all the lockdowns, like in China, and then now. And it's amazing. It's like from smog filled to clear. And if, climate change appears to be one of the biggest things on the table right now, as far as what people are talking about and protesting and all these things. So to me, it's like putting it, it's right there. It's in your face. It's not like saying, well, if we did this, I bet the climate would be a lot clearer. You already see it because it just happened. And I don't know. I just think it's, no telling where it's going to go from here. But I just think it's good that people can at least see what the end result would be if we changed our ways.
Yeah, maybe we will not see some big change in the next few years out of this, in the terms of how people might think about organic society and from the top, those in power and so forth. But maybe in the best case scenario, it's just a kick in the butt that will be also an educational push to
Right.
different to people that will maybe grow inside them, and he will provide as an example. It's a real life example of so many things that we talk about. So maybe that will grow, and people is like a bit of a seed there. That's what I'm hoping for. It's more realistic, than seeing a change in the next few years. Maybe it will take a while.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause our society is so based on like instant gratification, and we can just point to it now. Like, look at how quickly, CO2 levels have dropped. If we just try a little bit, think of what we could actually do, long term. So yeah, it's really interesting for sure.
Yeah, imagine if each country right now if there would be no virus today, and each country would just go to the quarantine to address the global change. Like, but
You don't even
it's
have to be
possible.
quarantined. Just stop fucking consuming so much shit, and
just
then they can
quarantine
also
a few
plant some
businesses
forests.
here and there. A few.
Some useless businesses.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, we're doing it, and countries doing that because of the virus, and all the economy collapse and stock market collapse and everything. But they're still doing so. That's mean that we can do the same. We can do the same with climate change. And that was like my very first idea when the countries start to lock down and go on quarantines. And I wonder, okay, we're doing for the virus, but why we don't do this for global thing? As Alex said, it's like one of the most important problems we face as humanity right now. And and this is like a small experiment. Of course, the same as Theo said, there won't be like much changes because of the few weeks or months of people basically less producing, less consuming. But it's like like real experiment showing that it's gonna work and we can do this. And although I feel like kind of uncomfortable to admitting that, that I think it's like the best time we ever experienced. All the guys who are like in Zeitgeist movement, in TROM and TVP, they all speaking about transition. And I imagine the transition is exactly such moment when there will be like a global collapse or something like that, which pushes people to enforce people to do something, to act differently, to make up a new system, better system for the whole humanity. It's not probably not gonna be like in a peaceful way, but through the problems we grow, like no pain, no gain.
Yeah, through mass. This will be probably one of our first, biggest recent huge global dilemmas. So.
Sure.
Yeah. Shiva, did you want to say anything too? Because you're in Switzerland, right?
I'm in
over there.
Switzerland. That is correct. Yes. Hi, everyone.
How are you?
If I wanted to
How's
say
it in
anything,
how's the lockdown?
I want to congratulate to everyone who got married in between.
We had a TROM-Cast called Prison Earth about that subject.
Okay, so just about COVID now.
How's it in Switzerland?
Well, for me and my friend is we're staying at home. She does belong to a Risiko group, and therefore we want to have no risk at all. That means that we're spending days at home, that we're not going out. If we're going out on the balcony, we open the doors. If we go shopping, I go shopping, or we quickly go shopping together and we disinfect hands and we wash hands. And that's for the life for us. From the outside life, we do hear how it is. And if you go to the shops, you actually notice that people are like looking at each other horribly, like who has it? Like being suspicious kind of a thing. When you walk into the shop, they have those numbers. If they run out of numbers, they're not allowed to let you in. In Slovenia, because my family is still in Slovenia and my friends are in Slovenia, my friend got tested and she was positive, and she was perfect, like not perfectly fine. She did have pain and stuff, but she was okay. She was actually hospitalized because she was one of the first cases, but now she's already back home and being also tested as a negative. So now she's, how do you say it? She survived.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So Slovenia has a lot of testing centers?
I'm not sure. I honestly have no idea. I have no idea. But I think this time is a quite nice time, actually. Like, we have so much time. We have so much time to think, time to do nothing, because we're not allowed to do anything. Like, anyone who's smart won't want to go out now, but will simply take time and realize that there's so much more things that we can do. So why to worry? Why not take this as you said, like, no pain, no gain? And yeah, let's just make the most out of it.
Yeah, of course, for
Yeah.
us, staying at home, it's fine, and we should try as best to not like freak out about anything, because it is what the fuck it is. I mean, I'm not going to change anything by being freaked out, or it's just whatever. But it's also, if you look at the people who are on the front line and trying to deal with this, it's like a horror movie. In some places like Italy or Spain, hospitals is just it's crazy. In Spain there are 5,000 to 6,000 or even more
That's what
of
I don't
the
understand.
doctors
I don't
infected.
understand this hospital situation at the moment, and how come that it's so overloaded? Because the numbers with the flu, the previous years, there were so many more people infected with the flu than this year. So many more people died because of the normal flu that I really don't know what's happening with all this media propaganda and how many people are dying and how
Because
quickly
this
it's spreading.
is the difference between a wave and a tsunami, basically, or tides and a tsunami. Like today, what you see is like a lot of cases at once, and they all need lots of them need intensive care, so they need special
Yeah, I'm not
care
sure if
because
that's true. I'm really not sure if that is true, if it's not just creating it from the media. I'm not entirely sure, honestly. I also don't know what with this NATO practices. Have you heard of the NATO practice
no.
called Defender 2020?
No.
No.
Like just now when all the borders are closing, the States is having one of the biggest NATO practices in the last 25 years. So for me, it's like, hey, and it's actually happening. Like
Well, I think it's
planes.
difficult to deny the fact that there are lots of people dying and their systems are overloaded. Like hospitals
I'm
in
just
Spain,
saying. I'm
in
just saying
Italy.
that, like this, I think that this flu is actually just as a cover for something that's actually happening in the background.
Yeah, I do too in a
Sadly as
lot
it
of
is.
ways. I mean, I think it's A and B here. It's kind of two things. I mean, that is one issue or topic as far as, what's going on behind the scenes. What's it really, what are they doing? Are they trying to change things out of it? But I think the difference that I've noticed with this and the regular flu is the reason the hospitals where they are getting overloaded, it's because of the treatment that's required for it. A typical flu, you sleep it off in 2-3 days, you take some medicine, you feel like shit, then you're okay. And this requires a lot of it's a breathing thing, and you got to be basically hospitalized or treated for it. And then on top of that, you have people, because of the fear and stuff, like right now, if I start dry coughing and shit, a lot of people's like, oh, I got to go get tested. And they're going, and so it's overwhelming the systems. From what I've read,
exactly, it's overwhelming the systems, and also, for example,
Can
when
we pause
people are going and
a
being
bit so
tested,
we can restart this, because
they're
all of the
exposing
cameras are
themselves.
frozen. So Cody can restart this, and then we can in just a few seconds. Okay.
Oh, that happens in Spain too.
Yeah,
We're back with it.
there. And now you have fireworks. It's a bit weird.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
But like to
Are we
I
back?
didn't get
Yep, we're all
back.
good.
Okay, but I didn't get I didn't get like what was proposed here, that maybe this is not this is like a cover up for I mean, because I mean that would be
Have
an
a look.
extra.
Have a look. I think we're all being just fooled a little bit. Have a look at the Defender 2020.
Well, I think it's for me it's a bit enough to look at the deaths and the like news coming
No.
from many other like from
This
Al
is
Jazeera to
nothing. This is
BBC,
nothing.
from
It's
PBS to CBC and so
a
forth. I will
ridiculous thing what
trust
is
that.
happening.
I'll trust that a lot more, of course, than.
Yeah, I mean, plus you can see images of the hospitals. I mean, you can see the
I can
amount
go
of
there
deaths
if
that
you
have
want.
happened. Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, there have been hundreds of deaths, you know, thousands of cases every single day, which is not like the flu. The flu is, you know, goes over a much longer period of time.
Yes.
And most people have very mild symptoms, where in this case, most people have mild symptoms as well. But those with problems and those that are much older don't have mild, they might have serious problems. And when you get an overwhelming amount of people with serious problems come into the hospital in a very short amount of time,
Yes,
that overwhelms
that's
the
a problem.
system. And that's what happened in Italy, and that's what's happening in Spain, and it will happen in other countries as well. And you'll probably see it as well. You know, it's just maybe
Yeah,
didn't
no,
get
no,
to
no.
your
They already are calling everyone, all this, even if you're not medically. My flatmate just told me today, even if you're not medically equipped, or how do you say, if you don't have a medical school in Switzerland, they are calling you to come and help in the hospitals.
Plus, also the infection rate it's a lot higher than it could be double, at least double from what I know right now. That's why there you see so many infections at once. You know, so I know this. Many people discuss about the parallel between flu and this one. So far, this one, of course, we have to wait to see for 1 year to draw like some conclusions or more. But for now, this one it's a lot more potent in many regards.
You have a vaccine for the
Yes.
flu.
And you
Yeah.
have a vaccine for the
I was
flu.
about to say
And you
that,
can
yeah.
create immunity herd immunity
Herd immunity. Yeah.
by vaccinating people. So you have less chance also to get the flu because other people cannot transmit it to you. And we don't have a vaccine for this virus.
Yes.
Yeah,
So of
and
course
we won't
there are
have
many
a
ways.
What I
vaccine
want
for
to
at least
say
a year.
is, what I want to say is that I just don't think that we actually do know what's happening.
Well, in a lot of ways,
Because
we don't.
why would you have a lockdown of all the countries, of all the borders, and then why would you be sending 20,000 troops overseas to have a practice?
Practice of what?
This army practice, NATO practice.
Yeah, it's like war games kind of
They were
simulation.
using like the National Guard to help because they are
No. It's not a help. It's country. It's army, NATO, NATO pack practicing going from west to east with all the equipment that they like. Not all, but with a lot of the equipment, with a lot of tanks, with a lot of airplanes.
But even if it's true, okay, so we don't know the reason, right? We don't
Well,
know.
we
But
know
what we
it's
know
true.
for sure.
I know
we
it's
don't-
true. I know
well,
it's true because people from all around the Europe are sending me photos of people
okay.
walking through their streets like army guys
Well,
and
armies,
tanks and
yeah,
stuff.
armies are deployed in Spain too and in Italy to cope with the lockdown and to help
Not with the lockdown, with the NATO practice.
Well, I don't know about that. You know,
Yeah,
Okay.
I think though the point you're making is it's very valid, and I think it really speaks to the bigger thing, kind of like we've been touching on throughout, and like I was saying earlier, that you don't know. That's the reality, because when you understand that profit is everything, that you have empires like the United States who literally start wars and do all these things and do create viruses and bio warfare and all these types of things, it's impossible to say that this isn't. And I'm not saying it is related or it, any of these army movements are that. But I think that's why so many people don't trust. They don't trust anything, because the reality is you don't know. You don't know.
Well, I think the scientific evidence points to where this virus originated. It originated in wet markets where they have tons of wild animals in cages that are like, they have all this waste and then they're slaughtering them. I think, it got transmitted from one animal to another, then which got transmitted to a human. Like we know that viruses can go from animals to humans. We have proof of that, and they can trace it back to that. So I think that kind of eliminates that theory. I don't know.
Well, the only point I was trying to make is that even if all that is, and again, I'm not saying one way or the other here, what is true or what's not, but even if everything is true, okay, the virus started and it did this, and we know the hospitals were overloaded, and that doesn't mean that the other stuff isn't true either, though. And the reason that so many people wonder and question is because we live in imperialist nations who we know for a fact do shit like this and start wars. Most of us talking right now, if we were to kill somebody, even if it was out of self-defense, we couldn't hardly live with ourselves the rest of our lives. But you're talking about psychopathic people who are in charge, who literally go to start wars and kill hundreds of thousands of people and genocide and all this shit, and they sleep fine at night. So
I think more so we should say it's the system that causes them to do those things, and it's the system that causes people to lock animals in cages, which therefore transmit diseases to humans, So I think more so people don't have trust because we are constantly blaming other humans when instead we should just look deeper and say it's the system, which I totally get what you're saying. I'm not trying to cut you off or
no, you're fine.
Completely disagree, but at the same time, I think it's because people misunderstand and aren't looking at the bigger picture and getting to the core of what causes people to be psychopaths or what causes viruses to, like this to come about. We know that viruses will mutate for, the rest of eternity. But if we handled things more on a scientific perspective rather than a trade-based perspective, we could get a way better hold on these things. And
most definitely. Yeah.
From a more scientific perspective, instead of this chaos that we're just like we always just react to the problems. We don't try to solve the problems, and we just react in such a poor way. It's so backwards and the way I see it.
And here's the thing: I understand when people are very skeptical about all kinds of things, like how can I trust this or how can I trust that? There are real conspiracies that are proven to be as conspiracies, as real conspiracies, like and I wanted to make a book about all of this, but we have to be careful because it could be a fine line between craziness, and real journalistic investigations, So we have to trust someone. I cannot, as an individual, know is this for real? Is this maybe someone did this with the virus or whatever, and for other purposes? I cannot know as a human being. I need to trust. I need to trust some sources. So I choose to trust sources from different kinds of countries that prove to be reputable over the years, that are also some are independent, some are, at least from each other, are independent. So I will take that narrative. I will trust PBS more than I trust whatever Facebook posts or, especially when they cross-check with, let's say, Al Jazeera from a different part of the world, or from ABC for corners from Australia. I will trust this circle of journalistic investigations. So from what I see now, that's the narrative. I haven't read any investigation. I haven't seen any investigation into being something else than a virus from a market in China like crazy because of tourism. Countries are so ill-equipped to deal with the spreading of this virus. I haven't seen anything. The fact that they locked down, it's actually approved how these countries are so kind of primitive in a way that they don't know how to react. They are like, oh my God, they get scared, and let's do something now because they don't know what else to do, rather than let's just have some other plan behind that. I think people sometimes put too much, not trust, but they think that governments and so forth are more smart than they are. Probably they are a lot dumb than I think. I don't think they can keep secrets. I think you've seen it, like it takes a 28-year-old dude to like expose the entire NSA fucking thing. It's a bit, but I understand people are skeptical, but we also have to be a bit like trust some sources more than others, and in this case I don't see where the conspiracy could be behind all of this. I just don't see it. That's what I can say. I don't know.
We're getting
yeah.
It's information overload combined with the known conspiracies of the past, and knowing that our government just constantly like lies to us. So we have we have the flavoring for distrust now. So now when the super virus comes, we're like, half of us are going, whatever. It's probably not even real, not gonna get me or whatever. So like till they have like a wake up call, until it gets like really close to them, then we've just the infrastructure is distrust, at least over here in the West. Like it's clickbait, it's non-stories, it's grab your attention however you can. So it's easy to like, how deep does the conspiracy go kind of thing. You can easily go down that rabbit hole, and be justified in a way. But as Teal's saying, like there's you gotta have a touchstone or something you trust. Otherwise, there's that rabbit hole doesn't end.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to point out here. Because if you go down this path and be like, oh, what if this is a different thing? Because I've read some articles or whatever, then there will be other scenarios and other scenarios and other scenarios. It's an infinite rabbit hole. And I wanted to say something else that I forgot. But that's what it is. Yeah, basically. So yeah, it can also be harmful, because if you get too lost in these kinds of ideas, you don't pay attention to what is happening now, and maybe you don't care that much, and you say maybe that's not too important, so maybe you ignore it. That's not good now to ignore this, especially sometimes when I got a bit of a reality check with these kinds of things, because I used to watch a lot of conspiracy stuff before I made TROM. There was this forum when this guy started a conspiracy about TROM, and they're talking about all kinds of bullshit things like, oh, he used the robotic voice because he wanted to, they put some articles like they wanted to like get into your mind because of this robotic voice, and I'm like, dude, I was
for the documentary.
For the documentary, I was poor as fuck. I knew exactly why I used those fucking things, and I'm like, oh, if people can come up with this bullshit, complete bullshit, and I'm behind this, imagine how much they can invent. And now I'm putting myself in the shoes of those people who are in hospitals now, and they are stressed as fuck. I have to deal with this fucking thing. And if others will say that maybe this is not a big deal, not more than like flu is also a problem, but that's some stuff like that. I think it's harsh. For them it will be really, really harsh to take these kinds of ideas, because you are there and you deal with these kinds of things. So.
Yeah, I mean, we were watching the other day, this doctor who was like crying, a Spanish doctor, because he had to they had to kill older people that had ventilators on them because there aren't enough ventilators
to give
for
them
everybody. So they had to take the ventilators off those over 80 or over a certain age and give it to the younger people. 65, well, and give it to younger people so that the younger ones have more of a chance of surviving. So, and I mean, they knew that before, it's nothing. Actually, this pandemic, it shouldn't be that much of a surprise, because it's not like medical experts and leaders didn't know that one day there will be a pandemic. It's always on the, it should always be on the radar. That is something that will happen sooner or later, and it's not going to be the last one. There will be more. And before this happened, they already knew that there aren't enough ventilators for a pandemic. I was listening to the podcast Science Verse like 6 months ago, and they had an episode where they kind of reenacted, they like acted out how a pandemic would go like, and they exactly got into this scenario where they said, oh, there aren't enough ventilators. We know that,
Yeah, so they knew that. They, of course, and they. It's not like we think about such things and we might think that, oh my God, we discovered something. Like, why didn't they think about that? They think, like experts, that's what they do. They will think about such things. They model such things. They know very well, a lot better than we do, of course. But the problem is that because of this trade-based society, you have to get funds, to build more of hospitals, to have more resources and so forth. So they get stuck. So experts, they're not, the ones who kind of take decisions in today's world. Even if they take decisions, they go through this bullshit layer of politics that's always going to divert things in all kinds of directions.
Yeah, and for them, it's much more important to, spend money on football stadiums and shopping centers and fashion and all kinds of bullshit. It's to spend much, much more money on that than on ventilators and hospitals and beds. They could have already had an infrastructure available for a pandemic, but they didn't because that's not on their list of priorities.
Or they could create it now. Because it's not like it's such an extraordinary technology. They could open source, they could collaborate and create, but because of so much bureaucracy and so forth, there are only some companies to create those ventilators, and they can only sell them in England and so forth. They have to go to all kinds of loops and whatever the fuck hoops, and it takes a while for them to react, even in this world. So that's why I'm thinking much.
And what's interesting, because before the corona there was SARS virus. You probably all of you guys heard about it. And after that virus, there was numerous of studies been done. And in 2007, scientists even predicted that if people will still continue to consume the wild animals like bats, it's just the new virus. Well, it's just a time bomb. It's a question of time. And I actually got the study. I will send the link in YouTube chat for this study, where it actually says like that. They've been warned. The scientists have been warning that those coronaviruses, they mutate and becomes more complex and varies in form. And if people still will continue to consume wild animals, it's just a question of time. That's interesting. And that project's probably been stopped because of the lack of funding, and that's what we are talking about, the priorities, where to fund. And imagine if that would be funded back then, like 13 years ago, probably we would have vaccine.
Well, probably not, because I don't think they can just create a vaccine before the virus actually mutates.
Well,
the thing is,
the thing is, if there would be funding, they would be working on this problem. They would understand the way it mutates way better.
Yeah, maybe they would try to, stop those wildlife. Although it's really difficult to stop those markets because, those people are selling those bats and those wild animals because that's how they make money and other people buy it. If you were to give access to those people to food, then they wouldn't need to be buying all kinds of random shit in wild, in markets. Or if they didn't need to make money because they're so poor, maybe those wild animal markets wouldn't exist.
Or just wild ideas of like ancient medicine of taking these scales off of an animal, just like crazy wild ideas. People would be better educated, and such things wouldn't even exist in a healthier society.
Yeah, if we had access to our needs, if we had better infrastructure and better education, that's how to actually long-term solve the problem.
Yeah, but you see, US doesn't care about China because there are the Chinese virus, but it's coming to US now, because that's how the world works. So we have to kind of care about all of us. And maybe this is also one way, this pandemic now, for people to see more and more that we are a global fucking species, as if the climate change didn't prove that enough, but maybe that it's too slow in people's minds, But now they realize that, oh my God, look at poor Italy, and then 2 weeks later, oh my God, look at poor US, and then 2 weeks later it'll be poor India, because I'm a bit concerned about India. I think India is going to be it's not going to be good in India, because they lack a lot.
Yeah, and Africa and Latin America and the poor Asian countries, actually the entire third world is going to be completely fucked. I mean, think about it. I think there's something like 3 billion people that don't have access to proper washing facilities. We're telling each other, oh, wash your hands with soap, wash them really well. These people don't have running water. And you're telling them to wash their hands. There's a report about Syria. They have 30 ventilators for the entire country or something like that. These countries are going to be fucked.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Yeah.
So
Yeah, if
So
we
wait
could
till it
direct
hits
the
there.
resources in this war kind of manner, if you look at, it's an interesting documentary, World War II in color on video, and if you want to see it, it's a long documentary. But one thing that you can get from there in terms of resources is that when they wanted to build some stuff, oh my God, they will build stuff. They will build like lots of airplanes, they will build bridges like crazy. If they really want, the human potential is there. I'm not saying you have to like be draconian and make people build shit, build hospitals. I think it's enough people who will do that even voluntarily out of 7-8 billion people that we are on this planet. So if we had this kind of warlike mentality in these kinds of at least situations, they try to simulate kind of, let's have this like go at war with this virus. But if we really had like put the resources, stop with the fucking just lockdowns and so forth, just put the resources there, build shit, open source shit, don't care about borders, don't care about patents. People should be like, fuck patents, because they stay in their way. Why aren't other people building ventilators, for example? Because they need patents, So yeah, that's.
Yeah, one of these, China or somewhere, I read they just, because of this pandemic, just built a whole hospital in like a day or two.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, what the fuck,
Right.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a good way to like enslave people. Be like, okay, build a fucking hospital, motherfuckers.
But it's possible though. That's the point.
But it's possible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely possible.
And probably if you have more volunteers, you don't have to make them work, 20 hours a day.
That's true. Yeah.
Everybody can pitch in what they can. I mean, UK had like, how many, like, I don't know.
400,000 volunteers just by now. 400,000 volunteers to help the healthcare sector. They just put an announcement there. Do you want to help? And people are like, oh fuck, of course I want to help, because people will help, and if people will be also trained to know how to. Because I think I mentioned this before about UK is this group of people who save lives at sea, but they are normal people, let's say normal, who work normal jobs, but they also have the training to save people at sea, to provide CPR, to a bunch of stuff, how to save people. Why shouldn't the rest of us go to all kinds of such trainings, to volunteer for such situations? We should at least have that, so we know how to react. Look at us, we are closed in our homes. I don't even know if I'm allowed to go fucking out. I don't even know. I know what to do exactly. I just watch some YouTube videos and I get some articles that I have to wash my hands, and I wash my hands like a crazy motherfucker, and I don't touch my face sometimes, but I don't know much about this fucking thing. I have to learn online. No one teaches. They should teach children. There are some places in the world where they are hit by frequent natural disasters, like say earthquakes, and then they do this kind of drills with kids, and they teach them how to protect yourself in case of an earthquake or a fire, because they are stressed out by such events there. They should do the same here with like pandemics, at least, and all kinds of such outbreaks, from fires to hurricanes to tsunami warnings and so forth, to at least teach kids to know the basics, At least that we could fucking do, this fucking retarded educational system that doesn't teach you anything, Just it's a teacher on a blackboard and puts numbers into your head, and then you forget them the second that you finish school,
But that will happen if we will have such pandemic each year, If that will be constant, and then people will get educated. So far, it's just one time, occurrence.
Imagine it kept on hitting us, like more viruses, new ones, and then everyone stays quarantined.
But with this one, it's a problem. With this one, it's a problem because they say that, okay, countries lock down, they reduce the number of infections. Okay, but what happens now? Because you have to kind of open up borders, and this virus, I think in Ireland, they did this, they did the most tests per capita, per how many people they have, and they realized that the vast majority of people don't have symptoms from this virus. They just, not even symptoms, they just don't have symptoms. And they can survive for a few weeks, actually, more than they thought they would survive in people, this virus. So what are they going to do? Because they have to, it's likely will rebound, and they will spark again here and there, So that's the drill that we have to repeat to ourselves to understand how to protect ourselves in such situation. But I'm not sure how exactly. how to do it. Or they will mutate. Who knows? Maybe we'll mutate this virus. And
Wow.
we'll kill more Canadians. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. No, thanks, man. Jeez.
No, man, stay safe there.
I'm trying. My igloo can only. Yeah, it stands.
I saw this video with this. I think it was a chef or whatever, and also it was a healthcare worker explaining how to deal with your groceries. After you buy them, and I'm like, oh my god, because he's like, if you want to do it in a proper way, you have to like deal with everything that you buy in a proper way, like wash this and this. I'm like, oh my god, it takes like 6 hours to fucking decontaminate your groceries. I don't think anyone will fucking do that. I will not do that. It's just too much. It's like, we have to think of something else, I don't know. I'm not going to wash every fucking fruit, because that.
Yeah, right. Diminishing returns is I believe, what you're hitting.
I've seen here in supermarkets that they try to like clean products with whatever, and then give you gloves. I mean, of course they try. They have to kind of do something, because they are really concerned that the healthcare system will get so overwhelmed that they will get completely fucked, So I'm not sure what the state of healthcare systems will be even after this is gone. I don't know, because they will be so fucked up from all of this, and so many doctors getting infected and needing treatment and so for recovery. So we'll see how this will go. Yeah. But I think it will be a problem for, like we said last time, many months, at least many months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it all plays out for a lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if you look at Italy, I was keeping track of whatever they're doing, and it's kind of fucking depressing. I have to stop doing this fucking thing. Because it's almost like a game. It became now as like a creepy game, looking at numbers. So it's like first and second, and first I'm like, oh, stop the fuck.
It's like every morning you wake up and look at the death toll, like how many people died.
Yeah, that's a big thing that's playing into the fear, of course, is because typically on flu season or any other thing, it's not tracked daily and posted daily, and so it's. Yeah, that's obviously adding to the worry, but
because I'll give you some stats maybe.
You wanna?
I was gonna say also the problem is when a healthcare system gets overloaded, like in Italy and Spain right now, other problems, other diseases that you might have, they also will likely go untreated. In Italy, they're using like 90% of their hospital capacity just on this one virus. So imagine everybody else that comes in and has a problem.
Exactly.
They might not be able to get treated. So even a younger person who might not be so affected by this virus might have a huge problem if they're not able to go to the hospital for something else.
So today there were, let's see, how many days from the coronavirus? I think there were around 2,400, okay, and the flu killed today 1,200. So it killed half of that today, But of course, if you are to track it, there are other things like deaths of children under 5. There are 18 to 19,000 deaths today, kids under 5, Right. So I understand. Of course, we have to it's a thing that happens now, and we don't know with this virus because it's really tricky. I'm not downplaying that. But we also have to put a bit in perspective with other things, and our life for people to track other things down as well, and focus on those. And we have lots of other statistics on the same website, like Worldometer.
Can you send the link to this website?
Yeah, I got
Same question. Because I'm looking at the stats and it's different. Like I'm quickly summing up, and it should be more than 3,000 just today.
Where are you looking?
Worldmeters.info.
Yeah, today is like 2,400 deaths from the coronavirus total. But it depends how they also measure because of the time zones.
To me, it looks like, I'm not sure what new death means. Is it from today? I think
like since the last report kind of thing.
Yeah, you can also put it on a screen if you like.
Got her.
The coronavirus, yeah.
I can put it here. I can put it here into the chat.
But that's the thing also, which Alex mentioned, and I was telling last time, that it's like the first time ever we track a disease on the global level in real time, and looking at this number, this seem very terrible and terrific. But maybe if we would get used to that, if we would track each disease like that, we won't be so scared and so panicked. So I guess that's also, because it's the first time, it's also bring like more panic into the public.
But do you think? Let me put this question to you. Do you think that media, a bit clickbaiting and so forth, and making this a big thing, played a role in us getting more scared, and maybe in the end could be a good thing?
I don't understand your question.
Like you said, media made a big fuss out of it, and I agree with you. But could that be in the end a good thing that makes us more focused, on these outbreaks? Maybe they should do the same for other diseases.
Oh no, they'll do it not too much, so people will lose interest soon of that, because it's just way overwhelming. People just choose to ignore this information.
Yeah, good point. Right.
Okay, so here's a question: how did China get out of it?
Did you
seriously?
They went extreme. Well, they're not totally out of it. They still have like a bunch new cases and deaths. Yeah, but they went completely draconian. Like they had a really hardcore lockdowns. Basically, they first of all, you can't go outside at all without a mask. You need special permission to go outside. You can only go outside once every few days, only one person at a time. Everywhere you go, for example, in Beijing, they were measuring everyone's temperature, even in the subway, everywhere. And they just had a really, really hardcore lockdown, as far as I understand.
Really?
Yep.
Super hardcore, yeah.
Because this must be because what I can you hear me, or did I mute myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Okay, perfect. What I've seen is Apple is closing down stores everywhere, but they're opening them in China.
Yeah, so in Hubei, they stopped the lockdown a couple of days ago.
Oh, China did stop the lockdown?
I don't know about all over China, is it?
Oh.
They opened up Hubei province, I think.
Hubei will be next week.
And China, the new death for today is 6, and total new cases today is 67, which is compared to the States, where the new cases are 12,000 just today.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
We're winning.
Yeah, again.
So how did China do that? That's what I'm curious.
They have.
Again, so they went really hardcore, because they can go really hardcore. They track every single person and give them social credit. They have, their social credit system.
CCTV.
So if you don't do exactly as they say, your social credit will go lower, and then you will be basically punished.
I think they did similar what in Israel did. They just started to track the phones.
Yep.
Yeah, that as well. Mm-hmm.
If person leave the house and he's supposed to be on curfew, then I don't know.
You get a visit.
He's in trouble.
Yeah.
I think also it has to do with the fact that it originated there, so maybe over time it's kind of slowing down on its own as well.
Yeah, they were on a hardcore lockdown for 2 months or something, I think. But yeah, and then also the phone tracking. So they had an app for every Chinese citizen basically knew where anybody that had coronavirus was located. So they know to stay away from that place. And South Korea did that as well. So that was one of the ways to manage the situation much better. You track every single person that has the virus, and first of all, you test a lot of people. And then who has the virus, and you keep track of them. I mean, first of all, that person is supposed to stay quarantined. And if they do go outside,
you can access the South Korean map. I lost the link. I had this here somewhere. You can see the South Korea's map when people, exactly where people have, because it's anonymized, the data. And you see where people have the coronavirus. It's updated even now.
No, that cannot be legal. Come on, you cannot track.
That's the thing. No,
Sure
U.S. is already talking about using the location data and stuff, and it's not a question of if they're going to use it. It's how is it going to be enforced? What happens if you're the guy who wanders out and you got the thing?
But hold on, are you okay with I'm more okay with that than with Google tracking that everybody are anyways, and selling ads. I would rather see the government tracking people and getting rid of the corona. It's already fucked up with Google. And
Yeah, Google knows exactly where you are.
and exactly
all
what
the
the fuck
time.
you do, on your phone. So if you're on your phone, it's already on the map, just
Dun,
the
dun,
Google map.
dun.
Yeah, but then you could just leave your phone at home.
Yep.
Yeah, who's gonna do that?
I guess that's
Yeah.
They got us.
Capable of that.
I think in China they also put bracelets on people. I think people that came in from flights or something like that. I've heard of bracelets also that
Yeah.
you can't take it off and it tracks you.
For 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
But well, you
So
can use
countries can
technology.
go
You can use technology. Of course, these motherfuckers may abuse it in the future and so forth. But technology is good to use it in such situations. Much better than, like I said, Google using it for selling ads or Facebook and so forth.
Yeah, and I mean you can use it in a sane manner. It sounds kind of crazy, like, oh my god, track every single person. But like Theo said, Google is already fucking doing that. Facebook is tracking every single thing that you
such
do
a
and say.
much more invasive way too, as opposed to like using it for our benefit. It's just such a like invasive, like, yeah. I don't even know.
Yeah, exactly. It's the way what they do after they've got the data. Okay, Google can show you some ads, and Facebook can show you some ads, but with this, when government starts to track you, they can charge you, they can put you in jail, and that's
Yeah, but the
the thing.
Chinese
That's
are
like
used to that.
that's the violation of basic human rights to be free.
Some lack you in the places, other lack in your home in one way or another. So
Yeah, you can discuss what is better or not, but it's when governments start to do this, they'll just go crazy with that.
well, they go crazy hand in hand with companies. If you look at China, the biggest company there, Alibaba, they are the one implementing the social credits and the tracking to the Alipay and AliExpress.
Yeah, but China, that's exactly where it's happened. So that's the deal, and that's
it will
why they
happen
go
everywhere
crazy.
anyway. So, but it's just that people.
Yeah,
in
but
other
it doesn't
countries
mean it's okay.
not
It
admitted.
doesn't mean that we
It's not
should
okay.
accept that and say
No, it's not
if you
okay,
have
of
your
course.
phone and Google tracks you, okay, that's one thing. But when the government tracks you, the police, they could check you. You could go out and
Oh, but I didn't compare that. I
can be
compared it with Corona. If they do it for the coronavirus, I'm saying it's better, of course, than just whatever Google does already for selling ads, which is pointless anyways, and then do nothing.
Yeah, that's the question: how you use technologies.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, of course, governments will be. I mean, that is happening already in China, especially. It's completely fucked up, and it's other countries are kind of doing the same, starting to do the same. Of course, that's not good. I was looking now at the deaths caused by smoking, and I was thinking, what if we could track, because that's also spread all around the world. It's not like malaria or something else that's just localized, and it's like 12,000 or 13,000, 12,000 deaths a day from smoking. That's 4 times more than you see today with the coronavirus. Of course, it's not the comparison. Maybe it's not correct at all because there are 2 different things. But if you could track that and even like say, oh, this guy died out because of smoking, it's your neighbor.
Yep.
It's just like poof.
Yeah, just poof off the map. Sure. Right. Yeah.
Maybe that could also be helpful in an educational manner. Not a forceful manner, but just educational to see.
Yeah. Well,
but maybe also.
Go ahead, Damon. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I think maybe also because of the coronavirus, we will start to do this, and we will see more, and diseases will be tracked in a similar way. We'll have maps for all kind of disease, and yeah, this really makes people, more curious and more aware of the problems and on what scale they happen. So maybe. Again, this coronavirus may be a catalyst for some other change in the way we track diseases on a global level.
Yeah, or maybe like people that are anti-vaxxers will just get more
yeah, exactly.
science-minded instead of
Jen, I'm going to disagree there and tell you that I know people who are on a very different path, the opposite path, in fact. That this is like the super thing to finally get everyone to take the vaccine and get Bill Gates' microchips in you. It's coming.
Yeah. Yeah, but just imagine if we would be able to kind of not maybe solve the problem, but at least track like each problems. Like if we, could could put the same like tracking device on each cigarette or on each homeless person, and just to see the numbers and the scale of the problem. I think people would look differently at it.
Sure, right.
The way we look at the coronavirus, it's like 500,000 people are infected. That's kind of huge number, of course. But compared to what? If you compare to 8 billion, that's nothing.
But maybe we will need that media that you hate. Maybe we'll need that media to hype the deaths of smoking.
Okay, the media should inform. And
I know. I don't agree with the clickbaits either, but I'm just saying, if they make a big fuss out there, like smoking, oh my God, and then here and there, maybe.
Exactly. That's what I was telling at the last stream. Imagine if we would speak in the same way about like climate change or smoking or whatever. If all the media just came and took one topic and like, okay, let's just make it huge. That would be the same consequences. Countries will be closed, no more smoking, no more tobacco. It will be solved in 2 weeks.
But the problem is that these problems we already have, so we are kind of accustomed with smoking.
Yeah, exactly.
This one is a new one.
Exactly.
It's a new one, so it's different. I don't know if you can do the same with smoking now because people are so used to it, or
maybe wiping. It's like a new selfie. It's the same face, but like. It's a new. You just have to pop up new stuff. That's how we get used to live today. Just a new something new. Yeah, that's true. We don't care as much about like other problems because we get everybody heard about climate change. Is it true or not? Everybody heard about it and have some opinion or not. But coronavirus something exciting. Of course, there is no vaccine, which makes it also more appealing for shocking information, and there's like a lot of people dying, so all that.
I think that climate change is reported on a like it's always in your face, but just the effects of it are so slow, and people are like, oh well, that's not really going to affect me, or that's happening over there, or that's not going to happen for like 30 years. But with this, it just happens so quickly, and it just everyone, and I think that's what kind of like it's in your face.
Yeah, and it affects people. Either they're afraid of their family members dying or themselves, or they lose their jobs, and so it directly affects them. What were you going to say, Tim?
No, I still think if that all of the media would take the climate change, and in one day or in 1 week, it would be the highlight. It will be the main news of every portal of every YouTuber. What's happened now with the coronavirus? We will have the same effects. Government will be forced to do something, or some corporations or some charity organizations. But it will be like hyped. It will be something that we have to do.
Oh.
That's my opinion.
Yeah,
maybe it's wrong.
I'd go for it.
Oh yeah, it definitely would be like that. Yeah.
Maybe now that we're all locked in our houses and it was constantly in our faces, might be more. But I think, in the everyday life, people are so distracted by their jobs and what other people are doing and this and that even climate change is in your face. There are a lot of, it is kind of like a trendy thing to protest against. I mean, it is well publicized, but again, just because the effects of it are so slow, and because in our normal everyday lives are so fast paced, and you're not normally sitting here reading or looking at things, you're usually the things you're looking at are like 10 seconds long, and then that's it. You can't really get a lot of information that way. But maybe now that we're all in our houses, we have more time, people should be blasting that stuff off more. I don't know.
I think Facebook and YouTube love this, the fact that people are home. They're their clients even for longer. I think because that was their most fearful enemy, the fact that people don't stay as long on their platforms. So probably now people are like so flocking into these social networks and so forth. It must be really great time for them.
Pretty sure Netflix crashed yesterday. I mean, there's a disaster. If any disaster is gonna fall
especially like programs about even video games. I think increase the sales of this kind of pandemic video games and movies and series about this kind of pandemic. So
well, art imitates life. You're definitely going to see movies and games, with this theme behind it now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
That's the way.
Plague Inc. sales went up like through the roof as soon as this thing started hitting. Plague Inc.'s the game where you're trying to create the super virus. Yeah, right, and yeah.
And people now, the ones who are playing it and were like into it, now they're like facing the reality of it a bit.
Oh no,
and they're
no.
like,
I know
it's
how.
not like in the game.
Yeah, right. No, close the border. I mean, you always get pissed off when people close the borders because then your shit can't get over there. What the hell, man? Come on.
So, what do you guys think it will be like if you are like predicting how this is going to play out for the next weeks and months? So, how do you think it's going to play out?
Oh man. I think
because we can check on that, Cody. Is you're live. You're recording yourself now.
Sure, right. Yeah, North America. It just seems like we're just fucking fumbling the ball over here like every day. So like America is preparing for like 30% infection rate. Like that's what they're set for. They're like 2 million dead, 30% infection rate. Yep, we did it, guys. Congratulations.
We accepted that.
All right, so yeah, it's like we're just being. It seems over there. I'm envious of the way some of the people are dealing with that over there, and then just the incompetence / no money / maybe this isn't such a big deal / let's not close our borders. Just a lot of compounding bad decisions, and then
So do you think
the fix
Canada
is too
will
late.
go
Oh,
the same
I think we're gonna fuck it up here for sure. Yeah, I mean, the igloo may save me, but maybe not the rest of my friends.
Yeah, I think Spain will be worse and worse in the next few weeks, and it's going to be a huge disaster. And then US will be the next one, and it's going to be New York is going to blow up. It's going to be completely fucked up in the hospitals there, I'm sure, and other cities, and then Canada probably, and then eventually it will get to poor countries like India, like you were saying, is probably going to fucking blow up, and then we'll see all kinds of poor countries being absolutely screwed.
The poor countries are, that's a scary, like India just blows my mind. Like what the fuck is gonna happen there, man? China has like the resources, and as far as like they can get some shit done. They can get hospitals built. I don't think it's like that in India. I'll have to get Srinivas in here.
Yeah,
Isn't it that the virus needs cold?
What?
Cold?
Isn't it that the virus needs cold? Like
No, that's a myth.
They
You can
don't
go
know
to the
exactly.
World
Yeah.
Health Organization. They said that that's a myth. I mean, it can spread in warm areas, and you can see that now it's spreading more in warm countries as
and
well.
it's mutating
Southeast
anyway. It can
Asians.
mutate. If
Yeah,
it wasn't
right. Yeah, it can
mutate as
mutate.
well.
before it's gonna mutate, it will. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But however, I'm more optimistic. I do believe that, like, I don't know. If you're smart, you simply just stay at home, yeah, right?
Yeah, but you see, it's a much bigger problem for India, for example, where you have huge amounts of people living in crowded areas, dozens of people in one small stuffed cramped house, and just
I agree. I
markets to
completely
get
agree.
food.
Yeah.
So you tell people to stay home, and us in rich countries, we can do that, and it's not a problem for us. But then people that already live in crowded areas that have no choice,
But
for
imagine
them,
how many
different
of them will be able to stay at home without a job for at least a month.
Yeah.
I'm not
That's
sure.
the other problem. I mean, a lot of these people live just day by day.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen that in, I think, South Korea. They said at one point they were paying money to people to stay at home.
Taiwan.
Taiwan, yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
Taiwan. Okay. Well, I think that's a lot more efficient than saying I will give you a fine or to stay the fuck home.
Right.
Because you address the problem. Like you stay home, you are fine. You can buy groceries. You cannot be worried about whatever. Do it like that. And of course, money is just a mean to just give access to
Right.
whatever the fuck they need.
So what you're saying, money is good.
We got him.
He was waiting for that.
It could actually, for now, it could be a way, to
Wow.
not trade. To just give people money so that you don't have to trade for that. So it could be one step closer to give people more direct access to whatever the fuck they need. I always said that it's kind of like universal basic income. I think I don't know if it will lead anywhere, whatever, and they don't address the problem anyways. But I will be like, try it. I will be happy to just try it, see how the fuck it goes. I will not say no if someone would give me $1,000 a month or euros. I think that would be great. So
Well,
Yeah, I think everybody should demand universal basic income right now.
yeah, that's the thing with this is, of course, if it plays out longer too.
Sasha, that's so easy. Why don't we just start a petition?
Well, they're
Go
going to
ahead.
have to do some stuff. I mean, they're going to have to do something like that. And things that seemed impossible, ideas that seemed impossible just a month or two ago, now are very, very realistic. Like, for example, in the United States, like universal health care or like universal basic income, because the reality is if this drags out, you know, all these little $1,000 here and there, it's not going to suffice anymore. And they're going to have to do something along the lines of some form of universal basic income. So that's what's kind of interesting. If it continues, the longer it goes, the more of these things seem, very not only possible but probable.
necessary.
Yeah, nice, necessary, right?
So you see, it's all good.
Yeah,
I think in a few months we will transition to some kind of money-free system.
Yeah. Sure. If Dima is optimistic about something,
Right, yeah, sure.
I don't know. I don't. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that really determines, because your question, Tio, about, you know, how do we kind of see this playing out or whatever. Obviously, I think that's the biggest unknown. Is it depends on the rates of infection and stuff like that. Because if they start going down in a country, they're going to kind of go back to what was considered normal. And if they keep rising, it's going to be more, drastic measures. So obviously, I think that's the biggest factor, is how the infection, plays out.
It's also that some countries follow other countries, so there are some weeks behind. So it can be a game of like a few countries going up and really get fucked up, and then other countries will go, and these countries will go down, and these going to go up and go down and go up, and it could last for a while, So I don't think you should make that many plans to travel or whatever. I wouldn't. I don't travel anyways, but I wouldn't make any plans to travel anywhere for the next many months. I think it will drag for a while. I'll be surprised not to, because what makes India more special than Spain in terms of infections is the same virus. So if it spread in Spain, it will definitely spread in India, even after they lock down, because that's what Spain also did in Italy. So I'm very curious. It's unfortunate to see that curiosity in this sense means, like, let's see how many people are getting infected or dead. But it's just like, I want to know what will happen. And for now, seeing that I think, or the guy in charge of the World Health Organization said, I don't know if I said that last time or not, but in 61 days, we reached from 0 to 100,000. Then in 12 days to 200,000 infections, then in 5 days to 300,000, then in 3 days to 400,000, and now in 2 days at 500,000. So it rises up so fast, that is quite even difficult to kind of predict, to see what's happening, because it can also be an illusion in terms of like, it is getting up now because people are testing so much, and it's a bit of an illusion when people say how many people are infected in this world. It's an illusion to say 500,000. It's at least maybe twice, 3 times, maybe 10 times more of that. Those are just the tested people anyways, So these numbers can be a bit deceiving anyways. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, is deceiving in the bad way or in the good way? I'm not sure exactly. But there are some positive news. So if you take, for example, Spain, okay? They have 60,000 infections. Out of those, how many are like in critical condition? I think just a few thousand, like maybe 3,000-4,000 people. So even out of those tested, in critical condition are very few people. So let's also keep that in mind. It's not a complete disaster in this world. They are going to manage it eventually. A few thousand people will die in Spain, but most of the people will be fine with this virus. So let's not forget this, because some people may panic, maybe too stressed out about this, but we should keep that in mind. Okay, so also keep that in mind, which is it's good to keep in mind. But then if you think about India, of course, and this guy was like, if you look at the stats, in the lowest, like the best case scenario, around 20% of the Indian people in India will be infected. That's around 300 million people. So that means in the best case scenario in India, around 300 million people will get infected. Out of this, if around 5 to 10% will die or be in critical condition, then a few million people will die or be in critical condition. So these stats are okay, but also if you put them in large populations, you will see that small percentages mean lots of people, So of course it's a bit difficult to navigate, but put all of this into something and make a soup and see what's the taste of that soup.
Make some shit soup.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty tasty shit. Not again.
Oh yeah, again.
So officially in this, I was keeping an eye on the stats because that's what I do. That's my job. And I noticed that I wanted to see in the course of this TROM-Cast what will happen. And in the course of this TROM-Cast, it's funny. Well, not funny, but sad that U.S. now overtook completely like China in terms of it is the most infected country in the world. So congratulations to USA for being the most infected country in the world.
Number one.
Yeah.
As usual.
This rate is going to be a shitstorm in US.
That's why I do think the US is coming to a lockdown because it's not going to stop spreading. So it's almost inevitable at this point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, you guys from US just like stay there like we do. Just don't go out that much. If you can, just stay inside. And I think it's not a big deal for us. It's the big deal is for those who have to deal with this shit, the doctors. I would hate to be a doctor now to just go there and deal with this fucking thing. Then go home. Maybe you have parents and grandparents and so forth. It's tricky,
Yeah, like my friend that's in the medical field, both her and her husband are nurses and dealing with this, and her husband is a respiratory nurse, so he's like face to face. They took their children out of the house, and the children are living with their grandparents and won't come back till they don't even know when. I mean, I can't even imagine what that's,
Yeah. So we see.
Does your mom have any protective gear when she works?
No.
With the other people? No. Maybe you should.
I mean, they're cleaning, but in my mind, they should at least cut their staff down if they need to provide food. But I don't think. I think it's more just about profits. She said that the government said they can't close down. They can't stop producing food. And they're producing like processed meats. So in my mind, I would think like processed meats stay good for so long that maybe they have enough supply that they could slow the production down a little bit and like say like, okay, you're a high risk person, maybe you should cut your hours down. But they're not looking at it like that. They're looking at it as more of,
they're probably ramping up because now there's probably more of a demand for processed meats.
Yeah, that's what my mom said to me this morning. She said our stock went up.
Our stock, right? Yeah.
Like, I mean, these are the things that are going on in my mom's mind, and not like.
Yeah.
So she's not concerned that much.
I think deep down she is, but my mom is a very religious person. And I hear her talking to other people about like she's praying to God and God's going to keep her protected. And it's just not logical. Not a lot of logical things going on in my mom's mind. And it's very difficult for me to communicate with her on these things because I'm sitting here listening to like podcasts and reading all these things. And every day you're just hearing more and more information, and the numbers are just going up, and just seeing that, like I heard that in Kentucky, they probably won't go on a lockdown just because of economic reasons. So like, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, things it's more of a rural area where things are more spread out. It's not like a lot of condensed cities. So like the population's more spread out. So maybe it'll not be as quick of a spread there. I don't know, but
So in US, they can close. They usually will close just areas. That's how they have the power. Not to close all of them. They don't have that kind of power. They have to like be on
Yes.
states.
Yeah, it's
closing.
all by different states. So one, like where my city is now, it's on the border of Ohio and Kentucky. So my mom crosses over into Kentucky to go to work, and she has to carry a piece of paper with her because Ohio is on a lockdown. We're not allowed to leave our house unless you're going to get groceries or going to the doc, like for any important reason. That's the only reason you're supposed to leave. And so if she is pulled over by the police, she has to show them this paper that she works for this company and she's going to work. And yeah, so.
Well, in the U.S., there's levels, of course. You have county, you have state, and you have federal. So states, in this case, is going to obviously do their own thing. But if the federal says something, it applies to all states.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, the federal isn't really doing shit hardly. So states are kind of taking it upon themselves to enact their own measures. So that's kind of how it's playing out so far. Yeah.
The last I heard, Donald Trump said that he wants to take these lockdowns, like he wants to like get rid of them. But I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Can you do that? Can
about-
you just say like New York, no lockdown?
Yeah, can he?
Yeah, he
Or-
can.
And the mayor, or the what do you call it?
Of course he
Governor?
can. He's fucking Trump, you know.
What's going on in
Even if
Brazil?
he couldn't do it before, he's gonna make a law that he's gonna be able to.
Yeah.
Look what's happening in Brazil. Their president has the COVID-19.
Oh, yeah?
If you look at him, he looks sick as a dog, and he is in such denial about it. And their country is like, the people are protesting and they're getting really pissed. They want him out.
Also,
So
he has the virus. Because
Yeah.
I've seen with him.
Yeah.
I was about to say because I saw some photos and he'd be like, "Oh, fuck the coronavirus, whatever. You know, we don't lock down." And he looked really sick. But I didn't know that he has. Okay, that's.
So I don't know. I mean, it really is just like we have no clue what's going to happen. So, if you ask me personally, what I think that a lot of people are going to die, and it's going to take us a really long time to recover from this. Just going back to normal life may not be necessarily what happens, but who knows? Who knows?
Exactly.
Oh, I
Yeah,
hope that
the
the normal
interest-
life is gonna become way more that it is not like now. Like we've seen how many offices can actually work from home.
Right.
We've seen how many people can do stuff, being closer to their families. Not necessarily that they actually want it, because with a lot of families that I'm talking with now, are so looking forward to sending kids back to schools
Yep.
and for them to be going back to work. But I just think that we're gonna get something good out of it. Like we're gonna get how to spend time with each other more productively, more being there for one another.
They also predict more domestic violence. I read in an article.
They do. It's a lot of domestic violence.
Yeah, sorry.
And there's gonna be a lot of there's gonna be a big baby boom, I think, as well.
Yeah, probably could have gone.
yeah. Sure.
Bad idea. I think.
That could
Yeah, and
be
I
also
think-
the opposite. Yeah, maybe there's going to be more like conflicts in a family because they are forced now to be
Yeah,
so
divorces.
much together. Divorces.
Yeah, my dad
'cause-
was predicting like a shit ton of divorces after all of this. But I find it like a huge like. I wonder what the fuck is going to happen when if this goes on, lockdown, for a month, 2 months, 3 months. Who knows? We'll be free again, and then back to business as usual, and then it will rebound, and we go back into another lockdown, and people aren't able to pay their rent, and they don't have enough money for food. Then how is it going to play out? I think during the pandemic, as far as I understand, in US and Europe and stuff, they're saying, you can't be kicked out of your house during this lockdown. But as soon as the lockdown's over, then if you haven't paid your rent, you can be kicked out. And,
Yeah, I
and there's going to be a ton of homeless people.
I was working in the restaurant industry, and so all the people I know are in the restaurant industry. And from what I'm seeing, a lot of those small businesses won't survive this. I mean, I think that they do have the ability to take out a loan, but how far can that go?
Yeah,
And
you're Yeah, you're taking out loans when there's like no end,
Right.
right? Oh, we give you low interest loans. Like what?
I mean, in terms of our economic system, it's all really bad. But hopefully, the silver lining is that people like see how destructive this economic system is, and maybe there's a new way of organizing ourselves. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, a lot of people are freaking out. A lot of people that I know are really freaking out, and they're like having kind of like mental breakdowns because one, like some of them are being locked up, confined in their homes completely alone without anybody else. And two, yeah, they don't have any means of taking care of like paying their rent, no medical insurance, no like money for food, no like the job they were working could just vanish and into thin air. Like they're really freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, especially for people who are living alone. Yeah, maybe we don't think much about that, but there are probably lots of people who
And a
are
lot of
alone.
them are drinking a lot. I mean, I'm seeing it on social media because they're just kind of sitting idly and really upset. So now they're just drinking all day, you know. So I really don't know what's going to happen to this society here. And in one sense, like on one side of the coin, it is good that they are waking up and like kind of getting their, you know, their heads out of their asses and seeing like the real world. But at the same time, like I think it's going to cause a lot more mental health, you know, like a public health crisis, maybe in one sense, for a lot of people, because some people can't. I'm lucky I can stay here at my mom's house. I don't necessarily have bills and she's buying me groceries, but some people don't have that, you know, and they're really on their own. And I'm seeing like they're trying to, you know, like one restaurant had like a lot of food because they buy so much for whatever, and now they can't use it. So they were giving it out to people, but that can only go so long, you know, it can only go so far.
I agree. You're right. It's in some ways it's great, and in some ways it's horrible. There's definitely going to be a lot of people that are affected the way you were saying, and you know, fall into diseases of despair and drinking and drugs and suicide, and you know, that's a real thing. So
Yeah, that's why it's difficult to say, you know, not only what probably will happen, but if this will be overall a good push to the society, or they will go into the opposite direction. And for example, healthcare systems will be fucked, the economy will be fucked, many poor people will be even more poor than before. I don't know. But it's a bizarre kind of experience that I don't think happened. I don't know when this last happened, unless in modern times. Now it's
1918.
No, probably Spanish flu.
But think about now, we're connected, you know, all over the world, and we can experience in a way all of this fucking problem. So maybe in that sense, it's going to kick something new out of it. But it's so fucking difficult to say. Yeah, let's see. I don't know. It's difficult to even talk about other kind of subjects nowadays because everybody's so concentrated on this. Maybe next time we'll try to do a TROM-Cast about something different or not at all.
Probably not. It will be the same.
Probably it's quarantine number 2 or something.
yeah.
We are dead or infected.
Yeah, everybody got it.
Yeah, first it's like the
All of us
pandemic,
infected.
then quarantined, and then infected. Probably. Let's hope not.
And then
Yeah, right.
Okay, unless you guys want to say anything else, if not, we can close this TROM-Cast now.
News, no news, no news.
Yeah, we had some news, but you know, it's kind of difficult to
All good. I get
talk
it.
about this
I
news.
get it.
There was a
Although there was
about
yeah, there was some things on the
HIV
coronavirus.
patient.
Yeah,
Different news, like the second HIV patient cured from HIV, you know, which is great to see.
Yeah. Well, you had the 10 COVID busting designs, like there was just some tech that they were using.
Yeah. All kinds of technological innovations to deal with this, of course. You
Right.
know, from
There's the
masks to drones to like making things more automated. Even China, at least China sometimes, I don't know. China is like they have a fucking robot that's only efficient 30% of the time. They're like, that's good enough. Put it there, to work. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it's like it's Chinese. It's like whatever. But now they're also using the kind of robots that are nurses, robots to interact with COVID patients so that they don't get the virus. So maybe you should like put more trust in technology and use these kind of things, even if they don't work that well. At least maybe it's good. I don't know. China does some such things. I've seen that. This kind of yeah. So yeah, we'll see, folks. Stay not sick.
Stay inside.
Stay inside. Wash your fucking hands. Don't be dirty. Wash the fucking hands. Don't do like me and touch your face all the fucking.
But it's so stressful.
Yeah, because like one doctor says, like if it's a table full of coronavirus and you put your hands there everywhere, you're not going to get it. You're only going to get it if you put it in your fucking face. So if you wash your hands properly, and then you should be fine. So we'll see.
Wash your hands and then pick your
but
nose.
Then on
Okay.
the other
Of course.
On the other hand, if you put your hands with your sleeves on the table, and then you wash your hands, and then you touch your sleeve again, I've heard it can survive on the surfaces, and it can even be it's crazy.
Don't touch your face with your sleeves either.
Wash your hands and stay naked, and that's it. Take showers, and that's all.
Stay safe and sane.
Okay, stay educated. Stay educated about this problem. Okay, and I did just like a different kind of thing. Just at the end of the TROM-Cast, I did an interview with Alex. Alex, it's the first time he participates to TROM-Cast. Maybe you'll keep on participating.
I hope so. Yeah.
Man, you have a great radio voice. Like your voice is just there. It's like it's just perfect for this kind of thing. And he does. He has a podcast. I'll put it in the chat here. All real. And we did an interview about TROM. And one about this coronavirus pandemic here in Spain. He posted that, so I'll post it in the chat too. So yeah, maybe you keep on participating, man.
Yeah, thanks for the mention.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Welcome, Alex.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome us. Okay, guys.
Don't
Okay. You can turn this off.
Fine. I'll do it.
Just do it and then wash your hands.
Right. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.